Socialites, welcome back to my channel. Today I have a special guest, my cousin Kat. She is here today to, what are you here for?
Make a hat! We're going to be looking at Simplicity 1736, view E down here, because I love vintage patterns and retro vintage clothing and style.
Oh yeah.
And we're going to do 1920s today.
Yes, we love 1920s. In fact, we have gone to the Gatsby
Afternoon
in Oakland,
California.
I'll put a couple of pictures in so you can see, and we like to make, frocks.
The Art Deco Society.
Yes, and we have also gone to, in Oakland, we went to that Christmas. Do you remember that thing?
Right, the Christmas Revels when it was
the
1920s, and we were dressed to the
dressed
nines. Up. Yes, and we made all of our outfits.
We love to make hats, especially this one, and
I love hats.
I made my dress for that one. I also made my dress for the Gatsby Summer Afternoon,
and I made mine too.
She did too. And so you'll be seeing some sort of vintage and historical sort of clothing from us in the future.
Yes.
But today we're here, sorry to get off topic, sort of, to talk about the hat that we're going to be having a sew-along, making a sew-along for you guys.
So I picked out this gray doorbuster fleece from Joann. Excellent, excellent deal. Am I allowed to say how much I paid for it?
You can say that, yeah. We're doing doorbuster night.
It was $2.99 a yard, and so I got 3 yards of it. The hat only calls for 5/8 of a yard, and then also tell the story of this trim.
So this is great.
I couldn't find trim at the store.
We were looking at Joann's for some proper trim, because, well, you'll see why. And we couldn't find really what we wanted or something that we felt was really perfect.
The colors were wrong,
right.
Or it wasn't dainty enough. I wanted something kind of, sort of dainty, small,
That's dainty,
cute,
So we just picked up, some silver that would do. It's like, it wasn't great, but it was good. And then we came back, we rifled through my stash, and my husband's family member or cousin had sent me a box of vintage trims a while back. And lo and behold, we had some nice trim in there, and we're going to use that because it goes perfectly with the little brooch button.
You found this.
Yeah.
So while I was getting my fabric cut, of course, Emily goes off and she finds the most beautiful, just showstopper. This button.
I think
it's a button. It's a button, but it's gorgeous.
It's a button.
It's a button.
And it goes perfectly with this trim.
Which we could not have planned it, but it couldn't have worked out better.
It was meant to be.
Yeah, perfect ivory match.
And then, so we're doing view E.
Mm-hmm.
So you're going to have it has a button there, but we're using an embellished button.
Another note, the pattern calls for piping, but instead of piping, I wanted to use trim. And so that would be a personal choice. We'll cross that bridge when we come to it.
Yes, we will.
Should we talk about the pattern pieces?
Sure, we can talk about the pattern pieces.
Okay.
So, we'll be omitting the pattern piece for the piping.
Yes, which is number 29. But otherwise, we've cut out pattern pieces 24 through 28.
Yeah, so we're just omitting pattern piece 29 because I just ironed those pattern pieces, okay? I ironed my She goes and wrinkles them.
Too? Okay.
No, it's all good.
I think we're good.
We're gonna get to cutting these out, and
I'm gonna cut all the notches today. I promise.
So it's a cloche. That is what you call a hat. That of this design is a cloche.
Yes, but I really love something. I have to say is they also have a view D, which I'm not gonna make today, but I do love it. This is a 1930s.
Is that like a fedora?
It is, but it's got sort of a swoop in it because it's made, all of these are made of fleece. That we should talk about that because that's not a historical fabric.
No.
But we've decided what we think they're doing.
They're trying to mimic what was used in that era, and that was felt.
Yeah, so like wool felt.
It's felt. And so the fleece is just a way cheaper way of achieving the same look.
Right. But you could really update the pattern designs if you used, a printed fleece. That would be something you could do. It would still be cute.
Care Bear fleece.
You could.
They're all about Care Bears in the 1920s.
They were?
I'm just being silly. They were in the sewing lab.
What was the popular 1920s children literature? I think actually that was The Wizard of Oz. I think that was the most popular.
You would know.
1920s
You're a
children
literature person.
Well,
You guys, let's get to this sew along because it's going to be really, really cool. I'm really, really happy that we're doing a hat.
So am I.
So let's go.
All right.
Hey guys, before you get started, you're going to want to measure your head so you know what pattern size to cut out. Sorry we didn't film this, it was a total oversight on our part, but I'm going to link a video in the description box below to help you if you don't know how to do it. So, okay, Kat is over here and we're about to cut out our pieces.
But I would like to interrupt and say that Emily has an uncanny ability to match colors whenever we're out shopping for fabric and thread. She will match a thread faster than the fastest gun in the West. I mean,
whoa!
seriously. Yeah,
That's super fast.
You pick out the perfect color every time.
Of course, there is a selvage, so you want to make sure that you are still putting your grain line parallel to the selvage when you cut out fleece. Just a good habit to get into. So we're going to go ahead, cut out all of our pieces, and we'll move on to the next step.
Once you have your pieces cut out, you just need to mark the dots. And Katrina is doing it using, I think she's doing it on the back side of the fabric, but these, ooh.
Okay, so we are working on hat E as we stated, and I am choosing to omit the piping step. And so it's really cool. They give you a tutorial for how to make piping your own, and they go through all the steps with you. I just don't really like the idea of piping on this hat. Maybe I'm crazy, but I would prefer just, you know, a more decorative trim. So I'm not doing it, but I do think you can do it if you want to.
Right.
We're going to start with step 3 then, because we're skipping the piping. We need to, with right sides together, stitch the hat top front to hat top back, matching small dots, and then press the seam toward the hat top back. Okay, so we are now going to stitch the top of the hat, the top front to the top back, and we're matching the small dots. That's what we're using to match our pieces together. These notches do not match, but that's okay because they are there for a different purpose. Very good at it.
We're over here at the machine. We're going to stitch those pieces together, and we are using a universal needle, size 90/14, and that's a great needle to use for fleece, which is a medium weight fabric. And we're just using a straight stitch, and the length is 2.5. And we're going to stitch those together right along that bottom edge. We're over here at the pressing station because after you sew your seam, you press it. The seam needs to be pressed towards the hat top back, and you can determine what the hat top back is by looking at the notches. So that would be the one with the 2 notches, which is this way. So we'll just go ahead, go this way. Make sure your iron is on the right setting so you don't burn your fabric, and use a pressing cloth if you need to. I don't need to, I've got this fleece here.
Okay, so step 4, I am going to stitch the hat crown front to the hat top front, matching the notches and the small dots. And so I'm going to actually pin this in place. So I've got my right sides together, and I'm matching my notches, and see there's a curve here and a more convex curve here, but I'm going to pin my fabric in place so that I am forcing that convex curve to match the more concave curve.
Wow. Why does this take me back to geometry?
You can see I'm matching a notch here.
Match those notches, girl. And as you can see, the hat starts to kind of pucker up, or I mean, because it's curved, so it's going, you're building shape into it. So it might be a little tricky to work with, but you can do it.
The fleece is very flexible.
Yeah. It looks like a little gray taco or something, a dumpling.
It does.
Pot sticker. It looks like a pot sticker. It's sew time! 5/8 of an inch, all of these pieces. Again, we're over here at the ironing station and the seam needs to be pressed again towards the back. And we're going to do that and then we're going to top stitch again. So I'm over here going to go put the top stitching in and I noticed the top stitching that we did previously, it kind of makes it look like there's already piping in this hat. So depending on what fabric you're using, in this case we're using fleece, you can actually mimic the effect of piping without having to deal with piping. Of course you're not going to have a contrast color, but hey, I just thought that's a little trick there.
Ready? Oh, yes. Very glamorous.
Oh, hi. How do I look?
So step number 5. Just like before when we were pinning the hat front to the hat top front, we are now going to pin the hat back to the hat top back. And we have those two curves that don't exactly match. We're going to have to make them match as we are pinning along. So right sides together. We are trying to match those dots, although it's very crowded here now. And most importantly, we're trying to match those notches.
If you sing when you match notches, does it work out better?
It's certainly filling my life with joy.
That's good. Okay. Once you have it all pinned in, go ahead and stitch it up. And once you have stitched it together, we're going to take it over the pressing station and press. Now, if you have a pressing ham, it's going to come in handy. I almost want to say hamdy.
Hamdy.
Hamdy. I actually know someone named Hamdy. So I really do recommend these pressing hams. They come in handy for so many different applications. And all the supplies we're using, I will link below.
Okay, step 6. With right sides together, fold hat brim in half, and we will be stitching across the ends of the brim. So our stitches will go here and here. Oh yeah, knitting needle.
Knitting needle. I can't find my bamboo point turner. It like just escaped somewhere. I don't know.
It ran away.
Doesn't that work well?
Yeah.
Don't really use your scissors, guys.
Oh yeah. Please don't use the scissors. All right, so we're gonna press that.
Okay. Press it down.
Mm-hmm.
Press to impress. Jeez.
Okay, so step 7 wanted us to press this out. See how nice we have very little bulk here, very little bulk at the corner.
Sometimes patterns just don't include those extra little bits that just take your project to the next level. And they're simple things like trimming or placing interfacing where the zipper goes and pressing seams. I just don't get it. Like, why do they skimp on that?
I don't know. Now I'm gonna baste at a 1/2 inch. So
Baste?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's what step 7 asks for, basting. So I'm gonna baste this raw edge as they asked for at a 1/2 inch. Oh,
and basting is a long stitch, and on my machine it's a 5.
This is step 8. We have our hat turned inside out. We're looking at the front, and we are going to pin the brim to the lower edge of the hat, matching the notches.
Now the brim doesn't go all the way around the hat.
No.
Some brims do, this one does not.
Now, I need to figure out where I'm stitching to because my dots are in the inside of the hat brim. Okay, so I have to stitch into large circles. That looks like that. Yes, that is. Okay, and I'm going to back stitch there. So, matching centers and large and small dots, stitch between the large dots, back stitch at large dots. So really, you're just stitching from here all the way to there. Okay, no problem.
Really no problem or problem?
No, it's really not a problem. I just think that the pattern instructions, yet again, have been a little, they're not exactly as clear as I would like them to be.
Okay. So she's removed the tray. Having the free arm will probably make it a little bit easier to stitch and maneuver that fabric in. And you're just gonna stitch all around from the large dot to...
From large dot to large dot, and I'm going to be back stitching at both ends.
Okay, so she's tried the hat on, and we have some...
I'm not crazy about the width of the brim. I feel like it probably should have been twice the thickness. I think it needs more.
I think
So I'm a little disappointed with that, and I think what I'm going to do is just take this off, this piece here.
Now here's the deal.
sew it
You
down.
did trim. You trimmed that stuff down inside, so it's
But
going
I
to be a little
know-
bit tricky.
Well, but I know where my stitch line is because
That's
it'll
true.
still be there.
That's true. So go ahead, and what are you going to do? You're going to modify the pattern to make it double?
Yeah.
Okay, we'll show you how we're going to do that too. Little bonus for y'all.
Okay.
Okay, so we need to determine how wide we need to make the brim. So here's the pattern piece. When it's sewn, it's folded in half, lengthwise or widthwise. And then it's stitched with a 5/8 seam allowance. I'm just marking this. This is for measurement purposes. And now we have, it is 1 3/4 inch wide. So if we want, we're talking about doubling it, so we're going to add another 1 3/4 to the width of this pattern piece.
Okay.
Alright. So I've got some of this kind of medical paper that I use sometimes for pattern alterations. I'm just gonna tape it, because all I'm doing is extending the piece by 1 3/4 inch. Is that all you want? You think that's all you need?
Yeah,
or
I
you
think
want
so.
more?
No, I think
Double.
more than that might be too much. I hope I'm right.
Well, I'm sure this is gonna be fine. It's gonna be better than it is, right?
Yeah.
For some reason, sometimes I can't like get on board with certain things. Get out of this because I can't see. That's 1 3/4, isn't it? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So I've got my 1 3/4 line. I'm going to extend and most important is making sure that you transfer. One way to do that is just fold it over so it meets the line, and give yourself, knowing where those notches are, and this is center back, knowing where the notches are, knowing where the dots are, DB for center back in case that becomes small dot, big dot, cut it, boom, new pattern piece.
Okay, so what I ended up doing is trimming it way down. I sewed a larger brim on the hat. I think it looks much better now. And I also went inside and really trimmed back as much as I could on that seam where I attached the brim of the hat to the front of the hat, because I just don't want any bulk there in the front when I flip the hat brim up as I'm wearing it. I want it to lay as flat as possible. So that's what I did there, and now I'm about to attach the hem tape to the back, which is step number 9. So step number 9, I'm going to use just regular white hem tape to finish the back. I'm not super experienced with hem tape, so I'm just going to wing it. Okay, so here we have the hem tape attached to the back of the hat, and I pinned it in place. I stitched as close as I could to the edge of the back of the hat. This is front side out. And I tried to get as close to the back as I could, as close to the edge. It's a little over 1/8 of an inch. And now I'm going to take out the pins and flip the hem tape and see what happens. Okay, so not quite sure if this is the way that hem tape is intended to be used. I could have looked it up on the internet, but this just sort of felt right to me. I think I used it like bias binding, and so I just kind of flipped it under and stitch it across, and who knows if that's right or wrong. But you know, I just kind of did what felt natural. And now I'm going to attach some trim to cover my stitch line back here, and also just to kind of finish off the back of the hat, and then I'll figure out what I'm going to do trim wise on the front. But I'm going to pin this in place along the bottom edge and stitch it. Okay, as you can see, I have also, this trim is finished on the back of the hat, and now I'm going to add trim to the front brim of the hat. I've pinned it in place, and I'm going to go take it over the machine and stitch it into place. So here I am at the machine, and I'm starting my, I'm going to stitch the trim inside the hat. I'm starting inside the hat because this part is going to be covered up when I pin the brim, when I tack the brim into place. And then that way, as I start here, I can backstitch here and make sure it's secure, and then stitch out across here. I wasn't planning on putting the trim on the outside of the hat, otherwise I could have done this in a more elegant way and trimmed the brim before I attached it to the hat. But this was an idea I had after the hat was constructed, so here we go. And as I sew, I can remove these pins because I've placed them just so that they can be easily removed as I'm stitching. So here I go. And as I come up on this pin, I'll take it out and continue to stitch. The trim has been attached to the brim of the hat, and now I'm going to flip the hat up and just tack it into place by hand sewing at the corners. There's a lot of thickness here, so it's not easy.
That doesn't look fun. You need a thimble?
I think I need a thimble. Okay, so as you can see, I've tacked the hat in place. I've tacked it here at the corner, and then also I tacked it sort of right here midway. I kind of like how the hat flares out a little bit at the brim, so I didn't want to tack the brim completely to the head, but that's really a personal decision. That's a choice you can make on your own. Also, I actually ended up enjoying the piping that I created by accident by top stitching at the seams. And so when I added the trim to the piping here that I have, I didn't enjoy that, and so I chose to put trim on the front brim of the hat and on the back, but not at the piping because I really thought it was just too much, and this looks good as it is. Okay, and so the button will fit nicely here at the corner of the brim, and so I'm just going to hand sew the button onto the hat.
It's looking good.